When the ball was bounced in mid-March, our predictions were locked in. Proclamations were going to be fierce. 18 clubs were fighting for improvement. 15 were fighting for finals, and fans were fighting for their superstars and flocking to the footy in record numbers. And we began with a draw. Fast forward 5.5 months, and the battle for the 8 was more intense than any year in the last half dozen. The score review dropped the keys for the Crows' chances. Previous powerhouses slipped as they reset for future rampages. Last year's shock riser made an even more shocking fall. And these two, they were just shocking. But by September, the finals were set. And now just 2 remain. The Pies had to scrap, hold, and fight off an inaccurate Melbourne and a pulsatingly plucky GWS, showing resilience and late-game strategy that is the envy of the sport. Brisbane shook some doubt when they pounded the power and reined in a plucky Carlton side that got the jump early. The Gabba was impenetrable, and the MCG holds a voodoo. For the Pies, their voodoo is the opponent, who has won the last 6. And me? I can't wait. Let's talk about this grand final. We're going to be talking about both teams, the matchups that matter. I'm going to give my Norm Smith medal Smokies because looking through the odds and such, the 2 players from both teams that I could see winning it are the 4 favourites, and that's boring. Why would you want me to talk about why Nick Dacos or Jordan De Goey could win it for the Pies or Josh Dunkley or Lachie Neale for the Lions? You already know, so I'm going to give you my best Smoky for each team in just a little bit, but let's start with the Pies here. They finished on top of the ladder, so let's talk about them first. And the big concern for the Pies at the moment is seemingly contested ball. Yes, they won both their finals. No one's denying that. No one's taking that away from them. No one's looking at it that way. But they went -14 in both finals in contested ball. And that's a problem considering you've got Lachie Neale and Josh Dunkley awaiting for you at the MCG. Now, if the Pies are able to overcome this, that is going to be huge. The loss of Taylor Adams is a big one, but it's not catastrophic. Now, I feel for Tay in a huge way. Every fan should. There is a hard luck story in every premiership side, and potentially Tay could be that for the Pies. Not knocking that at all. Is what he can do able to be done by other Collingwood players? Yes, Tom Mitchell and Jack Crisp are going to be the 2 guys that are going to look to do that. Crisp is better on the outside. He's going to be more of a meters gain player than Adams would be, whereas Mitchell's got that contested ball pretty much all wrapped up, even if he does want to throw it on the boot a little bit. But hey, Collingwood fans, you gave it to us Hawthorn and Sydney fans for nearly 10 years for the same thing. So forgive us if our empathy is not exactly as high towards you, even though I love Titch as a player. The inside 50 efficiency for the Pies is going to be a problem as well, just 35% last week. And yes, Brisbane's was only 38% last week. We understand that. That's not nothing. But the Pies are going to need to find a way to score because Darcy Gardner and Harris Andrews did a really good job on Carlton's tall forwards. Yes, Harry Mackay got off the chain a little bit, but he didn't make it count on the scoreboard, and his kicks inside 50 weren't as efficient. Although footy is a 4-quarter game, the first quarter for Brisbane was clearly the blip. Once they turned it on and became the best version of themselves, the Carlton Tools had no impact, none at all. And that's what they're going to try and do to the Pies. Now, the good news for the Pies is that you don't have tools, right? You've got Mason Cox down there. Now, my message to Collingwood, if I can bring one for whatever my opinion holds in weight of this grand final, which is effectively none in the grand scheme of things, but Brody Myercheck cannot, under any circumstances, be the deepest forward. There is no excuse for it. If you're putting it on Myercheck's head against Gardner and Harris Andrews, you deserve to lose the game. But Myercheck, McCreery, Elliott, Hill, these guys need to lead up at the ball carrier. You've got Dacos, you've got De Goey, you've got Pendlebury, you've got good ball users hitting up inside 50. Creating space in the forward 50 is how Collingwood are going to score. 8 and 9 goals in finals are not going to get it done on grand final day. This isn't Sydney in 2005. Collingwood do not play that shut down a superior list model that Sydney did. When you look at that West Coast team on paper, the fact that Sydney won that game is simply extraordinary and nearly won 2 of them. That's not the case here. Sydney still had Barry Hall and kicked 57, 56 points, 58 points, whatever it was. Like, that's extraordinary. Collingwood don't have a Barry Hall type. If they're going to score, if they're going to put scoreboard pressure on a Brisbane side who kicked 8 points in the first quarter of a prelim and 115 after that, it is going to be getting the defenders on the move. Elliott and Hill, especially, McCreery as well, have got enough pace to get off the chain and create problems for Starcevic and Leicester. If Collingwood are going to bomb the ball in long circa Melbourne in the qualifying final, this is going to be a blowout regardless of what you think of Brisbane's voodoo, curse, MCG, mental scars, whatever you want to call them. At the end of the day, the best team all year doesn't win. The best team on grand final wins. And if Collingwood aren't creating space in their forward half, they're not going to win the game. It's nowhere near doom and gloom, though, for the best team in the competition. They dominated inside 50s and clearances against the GWS team that are stacked with midfield talent. Tom Green, Josh Kelly, Stephen Cornelio, and the like were rotating through that midfield, Callum Ward as well. And the Pies around the ground were still able to win territory and win clearance. Now, that is going to be key. But again, they did all that and barely scored. So take one with the other. Now, Lachie Neale, Josh Dunkley, and the like have both got grand final experience, albeit Lachie Neale as the sub. But what they're going to be able to do is win their fair share of contested footy themselves and move the ball forward. We'll talk about how Brisbane can do that in the Brisbane part of this analysis, but what Collingwood are going to be able to do really well in Brisbane's forward half is they're going to be able to get numbers back, plenty of uncontested marks in their back half, and drive the ball that way. And this is where guys like Josh Dacos and Will Hoskin-Elliott as kind of a smoky guy to talk about here are going to be uber important as defensive wingers. The Gabba is shorter and slimmer than the MCG. Now, you think back to West Coast in 2015 against the Hawks, had the Weagles web. Now, Brisbane don't do this, but what Hawthorn were able to do and what Collingwood are going to be able to do out of the back half is make the ground bigger. They're going to be able to expand, and Dacos and Hoskin-Elliott and whoever they have up on their wings, even a Beau McCreery moving up from half forward, are going to be able to use the width of the MCG to gain extra territory and put this Brisbane back half under pressure. Collingwood are the best team in the competition, and situationally, I should say, they're going to hold up. They only need to stick around to the last 10 minutes, and the game becomes who can hold their nerve. And in that case, you pick Collingwood. They could be 5 goals down, and you might think, well, they've come back from that before. Not in finals, they haven't. Remembering that last year, they had 2 close finals and lost them both. And they didn't have to come back from 32 points down at three-quarter time to win either of these two. So this fallacy that they can come back from anywhere right now, at the time of recording, is ludicrous. If they can do it, hats off to them. And in the review video, I will sing the praises until the cows come home. But I can't see that being the way they win the game. They're going to have to keep it tight, keep it close, and exploit Brisbane on the outside. Can they do that? Absolutely they can. They've done it to everyone. Right? They're going to be able to do it. I don't want this to come across as me doubting Collingwood. They are the favourite. They should be. They're a great football team. The doubt over the scoring is fair, but if they fix the other part of the game, they'll be able to fix the scoring. Absolutely they will. Now, do I think the Pies are going to kick 100 points? Probably not. They won't need to with how superior their defence is. When you've got Darcy Moore, Nathan Murphy, Isaac Quain, or Jeremy Howe, if he plays back, could play forward. They're going to be fine in that department. I don't see them giving up the 120-odd points that Carlton did, right? This is an extremely good football team. Extremely good. And the way to win the game is easy. Easy to say, not easy to implement. Want to make that perfectly clear. But the Pies are in good form. They've been able to survive these finals, thrive. The way that they held off the Giants was extraordinary. They are battle-tested, and that is huge psychologically for what the Pies are going to be able to bring. And the way that Collingwood are going to win the game is they're going to have to punish Brisbane when the ball is in their hands, and with their silky ball skills, they can absolutely do that. Brisbane, I don't really care about this MCG voodoo thing now because it's grand final day, it's one game, it's going to be overblown in the media. If they're the better side on the day, they'll win it. You'd win it if you're the best side on the day in bloody Antarctica or on the moon. Right? It doesn't matter. This MCG thing does not matter at all, right? And it's not like last week when Collingwood played the Giants and there's going to be 92,000 Collingwood fans there because thank you, AFL, for making it so corporate. Brisbane's big concern for mine is the squad mentality. There are so many guys in this team that could have 18 disposals and kick 3. They could also have 6 disposals and no impact. I think of Bailey, Rayner, Hipwood, McCarthy, these guys. Even a guy like Devon Robertson, who's probably not going to have that kind of scoreboard impact, or an Archie. They're probably not going to have that scoreboard impact, but could they have 11 disposals each and no impact? Yes, they could. Could they have 22 and be one of the unsung heroes? Yes, they can. Not knowing which version of these players you're going to get for Brisbane is a concern. And not letting the youth be overwhelmed at all. You're Jasper Fletcher and these kind of guys, they don't need to be best on ground, but they need to be good in moments. If you have your moments, you're going to be okay. And kind of like Collingwood, if they're around, you're going to back them late. That third quarter for Brisbane is going to be key. If they can build up a lead and fight like hell to maintain it throughout the last quarter, that is the way that they are going to win the game. I am a firm believer that whoever leads at three-quarter time, if it's above 10 points, will hang on and win this game. And weirdly, I don't think we've spoken about Joe Danaher turning around his finals reputation enough. The media were really happy to sort of bash Charlie Curnow for the fact that he'd only kicked 3 goals in the 3 finals. Joe Danaher's kicked 7 in 2 games, led the scoring for Brisbane twice, and yet we're still talking about, well, until he gets it done on grand final day, it doesn't mean anything. No. We need to react to what we see, and what we're seeing is a confident Joe who's played well in 2 finals. That's the mentality we have to have going into this game. Sorry that that's how the world works, but it's called being fair. Like, that's what we have to do. He's been awesome. An underrated part of this game as well, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how the contested ball works, because Josh Dunkley, Lachie Neale and Jared Berry had 42 contested possessions between them last week. And if they can win the contest and take their own territory and hold up ahead of the footy, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. The one thing they can't do, and sorry Geelong fans for bringing this up, but in 2008 when Hawthorn beat Geelong, there were many reasons for that. The rush behinds, etc., etc. But something that Geelong didn't do, and I've watched that game an embarrassing amount of times, is they had no half forward at all. Stevie J went up, tried to get his 30-odd disposals, but where some of the times where Stevie J was getting the footy, he should have been kicking it to where Stevie J was. And what Brisbane can't do is have Bailey, have Rayner, have these guys, have McCarthy, come so far up the ground and chase territory, and therefore kick it 40 metres away, and Hipwood and Danaher say, don't take the mark, and there's no service forward of the footy. That is going to be a huge problem for the Lions. Now, can they overcome this? Of course they can. If they stick to their structure and they don't blink first, they're in with a huge chance in this game. Who do you pick from here is going to be very hard to say. I'll get to it at the end of the video, but I have so many arguments for both sides, it's actually crazy. Some matchups that matter and I'm really looking forward to in this game. I'm looking forward to Maynard / Quaynor on Charlie Cameron. We know what Charlie can do. We know how electric that he can be, and he would want to have a better output than what he had in 2017 as well. I thought the way that Collingwood played Toby Green was reasonably smart. He wasn't the focal point. They still had Hogan as that guy. But what I'm worried about when it comes to Charlie is, of course, the speed, which suits Quaynor. Okay, but I do think Charlie can go under the radar a little bit with his one-on-one work in the air, which suits Maynard. So the way that these two work together to combat Charlie, but also when the ball is in Collingwood's hands, how they can work off Charlie is going to be really interesting to see, because if they are going to have score launches from their back half, Collingwood, which is how they've scored for the majority of the year, these two are going to be huge focal points. Josh Dunkley did a great job on Paddy Cripps. He's going to need to do a similar job on Jordan De Goey, which is going to be difficult considering I haven't seen Jordan De Goey play a better game than that prelim final and can't think of too many better midfield performances in prelim finals in a while, albeit with very little research, but going off the eye test and the instinct. I loved the way that Josh Dunkley played Paddy Cripps for most of the day, which was as simple as, I'm standing in front of you, deal with it at the contest, and Cripps struggled with that at times. Now, Cripper did hit the scoreboard, and that's all well and good, but Dunkley came away with the points. He was the leading contested possession player on the ground, and Paddy Cripps, for mine, wasn't in that sort of top 2, top 3 area for Carlton players on the ground, albeit I'd had a couple of amber ales, a couple of apples, while I was watching it. So that could be wrong, but again, the eye test, the instinct tells me that what Josh Dunkley can do on De Goey will have a very big say in what happens. I wouldn't put Dunkley on Nick Dacos because Dunkley is served not that well at the Bulldogs as a half forward, right? And certainly not as a tagger in that half forward role. He needs to be in at the coalface, and that's where JDG is going to be. One of the more underrated battles here, I think, is the ruck battle, Oscar McInerney v. Darcy Cameron. Now, Darcy Cameron's got Oscar for athleticism around the ground as a whole, but Oscar did go forward and punish Carlton in the preliminary final. The hitouts and hitouts to advantage I don't think are going to be a major factor in this game. It's not really how both of these ruckmen really work, but again, this midfield battle, which, am I overstating it a touch? I don't think so, but there is a very big chance that, especially late in this game, if it's close, that midfield and territory battle is going to be key, and these two guys are going to have a massive say in that. Like I said earlier, Mason Cox is going to need to be the deepest forward for a lot of the time. All right, and Brisbane, whoever they go with their second ruckman, or if Oscar does the majority of it anyway, all they have to do against Mason in the contest is not let him, what we call flat palm, down and have hitouts to advantage, and they're going to be fine in that aspect. But in the last 5 minutes, in a close game, McInerney v. Cameron is going to become so important. Finally, Starcevic v. Jamie Elliott. Now, I think of all the Collingwood forwards, who could kick 5? Do I think Myercheck can kick 5? Maybe not. I think Bobby Hill could certainly kick 2 or 3. Maybe be that guy that kicks 4, maybe. But 5, I'm kind of struggling to wrap my head around. But if someone came and told me that Jamie Elliott was going to kick 5, I'd believe it. So Brandon Starcevic has got a role now. Starcevic, for mine, is firmly in the Blake Hardwick school of most underrated small defenders, and I actually think the way that Starcevic plays his opponents does eke out Dimmer a little bit, and I'm a Hawthorn supporter saying that. Starcevic puts on a masterclass in stopping small forwards, so it's going to be a battle for Jamie, but again, if Collingwood are going to want to kick a winning score, like Brisbane, they're going to have to spread the love. I don't think anyone's going to come out and kick 7 in this game and get their team over the line. It's going to be about the sum of the forward line, the sum of the parts of the offensive weaponry, I should say, of these two sides. So the Starcevic and Elliott is as important as it is the Quaynor Maynard v. Charlie Cameron, in my opinion. But let's get to some Norm Smith medal picks. Now, like I said, I'm not going to talk about Dacos, DeGoey, Neal, or Dunkley in this bit because you guys already know them and you don't frankly care. So who's my biggest smokey on either side? Well, looking through the gambling odds, now gamble responsibly and all these sorts of things. We don't want to be doing anything silly. But I was stunned that if the Pies win the game, we're not considering Josh Dacos, who at $26 is just beautiful in my opinion. If Collingwood are going to win the game, like I said earlier, where they are, I nearly said we then, they are going to have to spread the ground. Now, to do that, they're going to need metres gained. Who does that better than anyone at the Pies on the outside? Josh Dacos does. And like Isaac Smith last year, he is going to be able to hit the scoreboard. So if he's able to have 28, kick 3, why wouldn't he be in contention? Amazing. And for the Lions, again, I think metres gain's going to be big here, but I love the way that Kitty Coleman played last week, and something like that in a grand final could certainly see him take the Norm Smith medal home. And he's $34 as well. He's beautiful, smooth unit, mover, unit. He's all of those things. I'm a bit of a loose unit at the moment wrapping up this video, but I love the fact that he's not afraid to take a chance by foot, and even if he makes a mistake, he'll still attempt the same kick again, and more often than not, nail it the second time. And I think pound for pound, he's one of the most underrated tough guys in the league. He will take a hit nearly better than anyone, Kitty. He's not one to dish them out, but if the ball's there to be won, you best believe he's going to be desperate for that footy. So Josh Dacos for the Pies, Kitty Coleman for the Lions, and my tip for this game, Collingwood by 10 is my honest opinion. Can I see Brisbane winning? Absolutely I can. And I don't really know why. But we're going by the eye test, the instinct. Collingwood by 10 makes a lot of sense to me. And if the Norm Smith medal, if I did think it was going to go somewhere, I'm still going with Josh Dacos as my smokey. I'm still sticking with that. But what do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know. I'm looking forward to grand final day. I hope you are too. If you barrack for Collingwood or Brisbane, best of luck. I wish you all the best. It's going to be awesome. I hope you're looking forward to it in a big, big way. If you're a neutral watching this game, I hope you enjoy whatever you're up to, whether it's a barbecue, chilling at home, hanging out with family, friends, whatever it is. Have a fantastic time. You're all superstars. I'll see you after we have got our premieres. I'm looking forward to it in a big, big way. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Like if you liked the video. Join the Daz Talks Footy family. Almost at 1900. Can we do it before grand final day? I'm going to need your help. So if you could do that, I would appreciate it. See you very soon, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.